Hey, this is Aleksander Vitkin, and in this video, we're going to tell you the 7 steps that you need to get started on Fiverr and build a business on Fiverr. So how to get leads on Fiverr, how to close the leads, how to set up your profile. We're going to be covering the best and the most important steps you need to take right now when you're getting started. Or if you've been struggling for a while and you don't know exactly how to grow your Fiverr account so that you get lots and lots of leads. I'm here with Damiano, who has a 6-figure business. Well, most of his business last year actually came from Fiverr, and he's just crushing it right now. He's ranking really high in all kinds of categories, and he's doing extremely well overall. So he's very qualified to tell us the steps that he's taken so that you can replicate some of his results. So welcome, Damiano.
Hey Alex, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
So what is the first step? Like, how do people get started so they get ranked high and they get lots of leads and sales from Fiverr that are not just a few dollars, but potentially even more?
Yeah, I think what's really important to understand for new sellers getting started on the marketplace is that Fiverr is it's a freelance marketplace, and they really care a lot about their rules. So the first thing I would say is really, even before starting to sell your service or anything like that, you should really get familiar with the terms of service on Fiverr. The terms of service, it's not that long. It's not like most websites. You can go through it within a few minutes and just understand them inside out, because you don't want to be stuck in a position where, you do something that goes against the terms of services and then they ban your account, and it's very hard to get your account back once it's been banned. So I would say the first thing is really get familiar with the terms of services inside out, read it like the Bible, pretty much.
Just out of all the terms that are available, because people may think, yeah, but it's boring, it's a waste of time. Why is it important? Just name one example of what could go wrong.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like a new freelancer who hasn't worked on a freelance marketplace, for example, might have a reaction to be like, hey, it would be a lot easier if you just call me on the phone, for example, or here, send me an email. These are all things that you cannot do on the Fiverr marketplace. You can't communicate with the customer outside of the marketplace. And a lot of new sellers don't know that, and they end up getting their accounts banned because they give out their email addresses, or they ask customers for their phone numbers and things like that. That would be like the number one thing, is just try as much as possible to have all of your communication be on the actual marketplace. Other than that, it's just things like, you don't want to have any copyright violations on your gigs. Just make sure that, if you're offering like a Facebook related gig, for example, that your gig is specifically targeted towards Facebook ads, and you're not doing anything that goes against Facebook's terms of services as well, because you don't want any sort of violation coming from that as well.
So after reading terms of service, what is the next thing they should do?
Really familiarize yourself with the category that you want to compete in. So there are something like over 100 categories on Fiverr. And so, just by going through the categories, looking at who the top sellers are, and kind of understanding what people are looking for in those categories, then it'll be a lot easier for a new seller to cater their service to do really well and to rank really well in the marketplace as well.
Right. And what are some good categories that you've heard of or that you have experience in?
So usually anything that has to do with creative services, so things like graphic design, logo design, but also marketing services such as SEO, anything that has to do with ads, so Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube ads. Usually you have to think kind of like an entrepreneur. Most of the people on Fiverr, the buyers at least, are entrepreneurs. And so, what it is that an entrepreneur would need in order to grow their business, and then you can kind of offer that service. And so even things like social media management, things like, creating, cover photos for Facebook or Twitter and things like that. Those are usually services that do really well. And then anything that has to do with audio and video as well. There's a lot of people trying to, get scripts made for their YouTube videos, or have music produced, for example. All of these are great services to sell on the marketplace. And you can see by going through the category, kind of how many reviews the top sellers have, and you can figure out what the best category for you to rank in will be.
Right. And I guess people think that, or some people think that Fiverr is just for some small sales, like $5. But that's just a lead generation tool, right? That's what they call in the industry the tripwire. The real idea behind Fiverr is to take the clients that bought your tripwire something cheap from you and then turn them into high-paying clients. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So most of the time, the initial order that a client will place, whether it's $5 or $15 or whatever it is, it's kind of like a test. If you beat all of your competition on service and you offer a really high quality service, you over deliver for the client, most of the time you'll notice that your client base is going to come back to you because it's a safe thing to do, because they already know that the service is high end. And so if somebody comes up to you for a logo, you can keep the conversation going even after you've delivered the logo, and find out if, for example, they might need a website. And so that might be something that you can deliver for them at a higher rate than what they pay.
Right. So you can have a semi-automated small offer and then upsell them something a lot more expensive that is less automated potentially, but has a bigger profit margin. So what is the next step? What is the fourth step that people should follow when they get started on Fiverr?
I would say really understanding the level system on Fiverr. So Fiverr has an internal level system. There are three main levels that sellers can rank on. And according to the quality of your service, as well as your customer service, you will go up in level. And as you go up in level, you're going to get more and more traffic. And that means more inquiries about your gig. And so I would say, once you figured out the terms of service, once you figured out the category and the service that you wanna give, figure out how the level system works. Because without understanding the level systems, you wouldn't be able to really do much on the marketplace in the long term. And so you can go to fiverr.com/levels in order to read that stuff.
Right. So it's highly encouraged to get to level 2 essentially.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's hard. That's like an art and a science in and of itself, I've heard. So what is the next step? So let's say they have this kind of figured out. So what's the next step?
Well, once you understand the levels system, I would say, by now you should have done research into your category. You should have looked at, the other gigs that are ranking really, really well. And so now it's time to really make and optimize your gig. And so, there are certain things that you can do to optimize your gigs. And so optimization of a gig is something that it's an ongoing process, but your gigs is pretty much everything on Fiverr. So you want to make sure that your gig, it speaks to the type of customer that you're going after, and that you're optimizing it so that there are the right keywords that you're looking for, your image is on point, and you're basically making the customer comfortable with the fact that if he buys your gig, he's going to get a high quality result in the end.
What's the next step?
So once your gig is optimized, it will be really to understand your analytics. And so if you go into the seller tab and you click on analytics, you can see basically the main stats that you're going to have to rank on in order to rank well into the marketplace. One of those stats is your response rate, and your response rate is incredibly important. You want to ideally have a response rate that's under 3 hours. So whenever you get a new inquiry, you are getting back to that client within the first 3 hours, and ideally within 1 hour, because you are going to get a lot more inquiries from people because they want to get their answers right away when they're on the marketplace. And so, analytics, super important.
Yeah, I think we have a different video about this. We may link it in the description on how to get the response rate higher, how to do this 3-minute thing without being, or 3 hours thing without being there all the time yourself. There are solutions for this, right? So do check out the video in the description if you're interested in that. So what is the 7th step?
And the 7th step is a little bit of a trick. It works now. I don't know if it'll work next year, but basically Fiverr has new initiatives that they launch pretty much all the time. And so one of their new initiatives, for example, is their Learn platform. And so they're using that as a mean to teach sellers new skills that they can easily sell on the marketplace. And what happens is whenever you take a Learn course from them, which is usually pretty cheap, they end up putting a badge on your profile. And that badge will allow you to rank better in that specific category where you want to sell that service. So if you end up taking a course on product photography, for example, and you become really good at, editing photos on Photoshop, and you get that badge, you start your first gig, your gig is going to rank better no matter what, just because you have that badge.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Damiano. We have a few more videos about this topic that are going to be linked below, so do check out the description. And if you would like more free videos about marketing sales and just business in general, lead generation, then I do recommend that you subscribe. And we're releasing a lot of these videos with lots and lots of free tips. So I'll see you in the next video. And if you have any questions, please do comment below. I'll see you next time.